Have you noticed something strange lately? No matter where you live, no matter who's in power, no matter who wins elections, it feels like nothing really changes. People vote, governments rotate, headlines explode, and yet everyday life keeps getting harder. Rent goes up, healthcare feels out of reach, jobs feel less stable, and somehow nobody feels like anyone is actually listening. This isn't apathy, it's not laziness, and it's definitely not because people don't care about democracy anymore. It's something deeper. There's a quiet feeling spreading across societies, a sense that democracy still exists on paper, but not in practice, that representation has become symbolic, that voting feels more like a ritual than real power. And here's the scary part. This isn't new. History shows us that democracies don't usually collapse with tanks in the streets. They fade slowly, while everyone insists everything is fine. When people imagine the end of democracy, they picture dramatic moments, coups, dictators, soldiers storming parliaments. But that's not how it usually happens. Most democracies don't disappear. They hollow out. Institutions remain. Elections still happen. Constitutions still exist. But real decision-making quietly moves elsewhere. Power drifts upward toward financial systems, unelected bodies, global markets, and bureaucracies that no one voted for. Citizens still choose leaders, but leaders no longer choose outcomes. So people keep participating in the process while feeling increasingly disconnected from the results. That's why so many voters today say things like, "Whoever wins, nothing changes." Because in many cases, they're right. Rome didn't fall overnight, and it didn't start as an empire. For centuries, Rome was a republic, with elections, assemblies, and laws designed to limit power. But as Rome expanded, something shifted. The system became too complex, too large, too expensive. Decisions moved away from citizens and into elite circles. Military power became more important than civic participation. Economic inequality exploded. Elections still happened, but outcomes were increasingly controlled by money, patronage, and influence. People didn't lose democracy suddenly. They lost meaningful participation. By the time Romans realized it, the republic was already an illusion. The structures were still there. The spirit was gone.
Here's a hard truth nobody likes to say out loud. Democracy struggles when systems become too large and too complex. Modern societies are insanely complicated. Global supply chains, debt systems, international treaties, financial markets that move faster than governments can react. So power shifts to experts, technocrats, central banks, regulatory agencies. On paper, this looks efficient. In reality, it creates distance. Decisions that affect millions are made by people no one elected and can't remove. Citizens feel smaller, less relevant, more like spectators than participants. And when people feel irrelevant, they disengage. Not because they don't care, but because they feel powerless.
Many people still vote, but fewer people feel represented. Why? Because modern elections often offer differences in style, not direction. Left or right, policies tend to converge. Debt keeps growing. Costs keep rising. Power stays centralized. Campaigns focus on culture wars, not structural problems. Emotion replaces solutions. Anger replaces agency. So people vote against things, not for a future. That's not healthy democracy. That's controlled frustration. And history shows that when elections stop offering real choices, people don't rebel immediately. They withdraw. Another pattern always appears before decline. Politics stops being service and becomes a career. The same faces rotate positions. The same parties dominate. The same donors fund everyone. Over time, political elites stop living in the same reality as voters. They don't use the same services. They don't feel inflation the same way. They don't worry about rent. This isn't corruption in the movie villain sense. It's insulation. And insulation kills representation. People notice something is wrong, so they protest. But here's the strange thing about modern protests. They happen, and then life continues. Governments acknowledge them, media covers them, nothing fundamentally changes. Why? Because systems today are designed to absorb pressure. Protests release frustration, but don't alter decision-making structures. It feels like action, but it's often just ventilation. That's incredibly dangerous, because when pressure doesn't lead to change, it builds. In many countries, the most important decisions aren't political anymore. They're economic. Markets demand stability. Debt demands servicing. Currencies demand confidence. So governments adapt to markets, not voters. Policies become inevitable. Cuts are necessary. Alternatives are labeled irresponsible. When politics becomes economics, democracy shrinks, because you can't vote against math. Eventually, people internalize the system's failures. They stop blaming leaders and start blaming themselves. I should have worked harder. I should have invested earlier. I fell behind. This is the most dangerous stage, because when individuals blame themselves for systemic problems, systems become untouchable, and democracy becomes quiet. This isn't happening in one country. It's happening everywhere. Different cultures, different governments, same feeling. That's how we know it's structural, not ideological. The problem isn't left versus right, it's distance versus participation. Every system reaches a point where legitimacy matters more than legality. When people stop believing they matter, stability becomes fragile. Not explosive, fragile. Systems survive until they don't. No chaos, no fireworks. Just slow erosion, lower trust, lower participation, higher anger, lower hope, until something finally breaks. The real question isn't whether democracy will survive. It's whether representation can be rebuilt. Because history is clear. Systems don't fall when people stop believing in them. They fall when people stop believing they matter. And that's where we are now.